Our Earth is huge. It has 7 large continents and 5 major oceans. Now, within these continents, several countries are also present. Now, these countries have different climatic conditions and diverse geographical features. Well, here we have the pictures of some geographical features present on the Earth's surface. The first two pictures represent deserts, namely Sahara Desert and Thar Desert. We know Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert in the world. Now, these places are extremely dry because they receive less amount of rainfall. Also, these places are devoid of any significant vegetation. Now look at these two pictures below. Here we have the pictures of rainforest. The first one is the Amazon rainforest and the second one is the Congo rainforest. Well, these rainforests, as the name suggests, are densely covered with trees and they receive substantial amount of rainfall. Now here we have the pictures of cold countries of Canada and Russia. Now these places experiences extremely cold and long winter and warm and short summer. Also, the amount of rainfall received by these places is moderate, and we usually find coniferous trees in these places. So now let us see in which part of the world they are located. Well, Canada, as we can see here, is located in the northern part of North America, while Russia is located in the northern part of Eurasia. Now, Sahara Desert is located in the northern part of Africa, while Thar Desert is located in the southeastern part of Asia or in the northwestern part of India. Now, Congo rainforest is located in the central part of Africa and Amazon rainforest is located in the northern part of South America. So here we see that these places are located in different parts of the world. Now, although their location differs, but some of these places experiences similar type of climate and therefore similar type of vegetation. For instance, Amazon rainforest and Congo rainforest are located in two separate continents, but they experiences similar type of climate and therefore similar type of vegetation. That is, both are equatorial rainforest. Similarly, Canada and Russia, which are located in separate parts of the world, but they experiences similar type of climate and taiga vegetation. Similarly, Sahara Desert and Thar Desert both are tropical deserts and they have same type of climate. Now, let us connect these places experiencing same type of climate and vegetation with the help of horizontal lines. So, we connect Canada and Russia, we connect Sahara Desert and Thar Desert, again we connect Amazon rainforest and Congo rainforest. Now here we find that the places joined by a particular line experiences same type of climate and similar type of vegetation. So these horizontal lines are very important because they give us an idea about the type of climate and vegetation found in a particular place of the world. So these horizontal lines are very important in determining the climate and vegetation of a region in the world. Now here we have drawn these horizontal lines on a flat map. But how will they look like if we draw them on a globe? Well, this is how the horizontal lines will look like if we draw them on a globe. Now, do you know what are these lines called? Well, the imaginary horizontal lines that are drawn on the surface of a globe or a map for our own convenience are known as latitudes. So, latitudes are imaginary horizontal lines drawn on a globe or a map for our own convenience. Now, these horizontal lines are not drawn randomly. Rather, they are drawn with respect to a particular line. Let's know about it. Now, let us perform an activity. Take a piece of paper and fold it into half from the middle. Now, if you unfold the paper, then you will find that a horizontal line separates the paper into two equal halves. Similarly, there is an imaginary line that divides or separates the earth into two equal hemispheres, and this imaginary line is known as the equator. So, equator divides or separates the earth into two equal halves. The northern half is known as the northern hemisphere, while the southern half is called the southern hemisphere. Now, this equator is an important line of latitude, and all other lines of latitude are drawn with respect to this equator. Now, equator, as we can see here, passes exactly through the center or middle of the earth, and it is equidistant from both the poles. That is, these two distances are equal. Now, what are poles? Well, poles are two extreme points on the Earth's surface. The northernmost point is called the North Pole and the southernmost point is called the South Pole. Well, just like the equator, the North Pole and South Pole are also lines of latitudes. Now, before proceeding with our lesson, let us see if we can answer this. Here we will have to identify the line that divides the earth into two equal hemispheres, and the options given are axis, orbit, equator or pole. What do you think? Well, the correct answer is equator. Axis is the line on which the earth rotates, and orbit is the line on which the earth revolves around the sun. Poles are the northernmost and southernmost point on the earth's surface, and they do not divide the earth into equal hemispheres. So, the correct option is equator. It is the line that divides the earth into two equal hemispheres. So, the correct option is equator. We shall now discuss about some important characteristics of latitudes. Well, latitudes are imaginary horizontal lines drawn north or south of the equator. So, as we can see here, latitudes are horizontal lines and they are drawn either to the north or south of the equator. So, this line in the middle is the equator and all other latitudes are drawn either north or south of this line. The next characteristic of latitude is that all are parallel lines and they run from west to east. See, all the lines of latitudes are parallel and they run from west to east. Now, since the latitudes are parallel lines, so two consecutive latitudes are equidistant. This means that this particular distance is equal to this particular distance and it is also equal to this particular distance. It means that the distance between two consecutive latitudes is same throughout the globe. So, therefore, the latitudes are equidistant, which also means that they are parallel, since the distance between two consecutive latitudes is the same. Now, the size of latitudes decreases as one moves from the equator towards the poles. Well, let me tell you that latitudes are perfect circles, but their sizes vary. Equator is the greatest latitude or the greatest circle, while all other lines of latitudes are smaller than the equator. And since the earth is spherical in shape, so as one moves from the equator towards the poles, either North Pole or South Pole, the size of each latitude decreases. And in fact, the northernmost tip, that is the North Pole, and the southernmost tip, that is the South Pole, decreases to mere points. That is, both the poles are just points and equator is the greatest latitude or the greatest circle. So, these are some of the important characteristics of latitudes. Latitudes are imaginary horizontal lines drawn either north or south of the equator. And all lines of latitudes are parallel to each other and they run from west to east. Now, since the latitudes are parallel, they are also equidistant from one another. Lastly, the sizes of each latitude varies. The greatest latitude is placed in the middle and it is known as the equator, while as we move away from the equator, the sizes of latitude decreases and the North Pole and South Pole are just dots or points. Let us see how we can number these latitudes. Well, we know that all lines of latitudes are drawn with respect to the equator. So, the equator is taken as the base latitude or the main latitude. Now, equator is marked as 0 degree. Now, taking equator as the base, we know that the latitudes are drawn either to the north or south of the equator. So, if we move to the north of the equator, then we shall number the latitudes in ascending order. That is, if the latitudes are drawn at an interval of 1 degree, then this particular latitude should be marked as 1 degree. And since it is in the northern hemisphere, so we should add suffix n after 1 degree. Similarly, let us proceed 1 degree more. So, this particular latitude will be marked as 2 degree, and since it is in the northern hemisphere, so suffix n will be added. Similarly, the next latitude will be, yes, it will be 3 degree and suffix n will be added to it. Now, if we proceed like this towards the North Pole, then the North Pole will be marked as 90 degree. And since it lies in the northern hemisphere, so suffix n will be added to it. So, we demarcate North Pole as 90 degree north. Similarly, if we proceed southwards, then this particular latitude will be marked as 1 degree, and since it lies in the southern hemisphere, so suffix s will be added. Similarly, if we move 1 degree southwards, then this particular latitude will be marked as 2 degree, and since again it lies in the southern hemisphere, so suffix s will be added. Now, similarly, if we continue towards the South Pole, then the South Pole will be marked as 90 degree, and again it lies in the southern hemisphere, so suffix s will be added. So, we demarcate South Pole as 90 degree S. So, this is how we number the lines of latitudes. So, here we can see that the latitudes have been numbered. Now, as discussed just now, we number the lines of latitudes in ascending order starting from the equator. So, equator is demarcated as 0 degree. And then if the next latitude lies at an interval of 10 degree, then it will be marked as 10 degree north because it lies in the northern hemisphere. Similarly, if we move 10 degrees to the south of the equator, then this particular latitude will be marked as 10 degree south. Now, if we move from equator to the North Pole, then the North Pole will be marked as 90 degree N. Again, the South Pole is marked as 90 degree south. So, this is how the lines of latitudes are numbered. We simply number them by taking their measurement from the equator, that is how far these lines lie from the equator, and then we add suffix n or s to it by looking at its location in the respective hemisphere. This is to say that if the particular latitude lies in the northern hemisphere, then we add suffix n, and if the latitude lies in the southern hemisphere, then we add suffix s. So, this is how the latitudes are numbered. Now, among all these latitudes, can you point out the most important ones? Well, here we have the important lines of latitudes, and we can see that equator is the most important line of latitude. It passes exactly through the center or middle of the earth, and it is demarcated as 0 degree. Now, the next important latitude lying to the north of the equator is Tropic of Cancer. It is demarcated as 23.5 degree north. Similarly, the latitude lying to the south of the equator at the same position is Tropic of Capricorn, and it is demarcated as 23.5 degrees south. The next important line of latitude is the Arctic Circle. It is demarcated as 66.5 degree north. The mirror image of Arctic Circle is the Antarctic Circle that lies to the south of the equator, and it is demarcated as 66.5 degree south. And as discussed previously, the North Pole and the South Pole are also important lines of latitude. The North Pole is numbered as 90 degree north, while the South Pole is numbered as 90 degree S. So these are the important lines of latitudes. Now, why I am saying that these lines are very important? This is because these lines of latitudes divide the earth into several heat zones or climatic zones. Let's know about them. Well, the first heat zone of the world is the torrid zone. It lies between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and equator passes through the middle of this zone. Now, this zone receives direct or vertical rays of the sun throughout the year. This is to say that the sun's rays strikes at 90 degree or they are perpendicular to the earth's surface in this zone. Now, since the sun's rays are perpendicular, so the intensity of sun's rays is maximum because it is concentrated over a small region. So this particular zone receives maximum heat of the sun, and therefore this zone is very hot. So all places lying in the torrid zone have high temperature throughout the year. The next heat zone of the world is the temperate zone. Temperate zone lies both in the northern and in the southern hemisphere. The northern temperate zone extends from Arctic Circle to Tropic of Cancer, while the southern temperate zone extends from Tropic of Capricorn to Antarctic Circle. Now, unlike the torrid zone, this particular zone does not receive perpendicular rays of the sun. Rather, the sun's rays strikes at an angle. Now, since the sun's rays strikes at an angle, so it spreads out, and therefore the intensity of sun's rays reduces. So temperate zone has comparatively lower temperature than torrid zone. So temperate zone has moderate temperature. This is to say that this particular zone is neither too hot nor too cold. So temperate zone has moderate temperature, which means that places lying in this particular zone are neither too hot nor too cold. Now lastly, we have the frigid zone. Frigid zone also exists both in the northern and in the southern hemisphere. The northern frigid zone lies to the north of the Arctic Circle, and it extends till the North Pole. Similarly, the southern frigid zone is situated to the south of the Antarctic Circle, and it extends till the South Pole. Now, frigid zone receives very slanting rays of the sun. So therefore, the intensity of sun's rays is very low, and it gets scattered over a wide region. Now, since the intensity of sun's rays is very low, therefore frigid zone experiences very low temperature round the year. So frigid zone is the coldest part of the earth, and places lying in frigid zone has very low temperature round the year. In fact, there are some places in frigid zone that remains permanently covered with ice and snow. So here we have the major heat zones of the world. The first one is the torrid zone that extends from Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn, and equator passes through the middle of this zone. Now this particular zone is very hot and has high temperature round the year. The next one is the temperate zone. The northern temperate zone extends from Tropic of Cancer to Arctic Circle, while the South Temperate Zone extends from Tropic of Capricorn to Antarctic Circle. Temperate Zone has moderate temperature round the year. And lastly, surrounding both the poles, we have frigid zone. Frigid zone is very cold. In fact, it is the coldest part of the earth. So this picture represents the major heat zones of the world, and these major heat zones are demarcated by the important lines of latitude. So in today's lesson, we understood the concept of latitudes. Latitudes are imaginary horizontal lines running from west to east, and these lines are parallel to each other, or they are equidistant. Then we also discussed about some of the important characteristics of latitudes, and then we identified the important lines of latitudes, namely Equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle, and North Pole and South Pole. And finally, we discussed about the three important heat zones of the world, namely torrid zone, temperate zone, and frigid zone. So that's all about our discussion on latitudes. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers, or to get access to our 5,000 amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million-plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubt resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, but it's rewarding too. So register for free now.